Welcome, everybody, to Dead Talk Live. And today we have four very special guests, the cast and crew of Deep Hatred, that is premiering today on your video on demand platform of choice. I want to welcome Ali McHaddo, Daniela Carvalho, of course, Sara Drust, and Jeremy Sless. Sorry, Jeremy. Thank you guys so much for being here. First of all, congratulations on the release of the movie. The movie is called Deep Hatred. Like I said, it premiered today on your video on demand platform of choice. I saw this film, it was very well done. So, like, again, a big congratulations to you guys for doing this. So, let's get started right away. Daniela, you co directed the movie with Ali. Now, throughout the movie, we see the presence of water throughout the film. Dark, murky, sometimes even looks like blood, but it's predominantly water. In your mind, when you guys were directing it, what was the significance? Well, if you see the movie, you know what the significance is of the water. But what did you want to tell people as you were showing this water coming from the ceiling, puddling up on the floor, and so on?
Uh, without giving any spoilers, first of all, hi everyone. Thanks for having us. It's fun to be able to see everyone together again after such a long time. So we're happy to be here. Without giving any spoilers, we wanted the water to be uh, a strange uh, thing that caught everyone's attention and gave a strange feeling to the audience. It was almost like a character
Yeah,
in the movie. It was like a unknown character that appeared from time to time that tried to give us tips of what was going on or what could happen. Maybe Fale wants to uh, talk a little bit more about that,
I
or
mean, yeah, Ali, you were a co-writer on this film. So when you were putting the script together with your fellow writer, why the significance of the water throughout the film? What was going through your head?
Well, the water, well, first, hello everyone. Thank you very much for having us here. So, the water is a kind of emotional element in the film. So, the film is about hate, it's about somebody who wants revenge. And when we put the water on the screen, especially the dark water, the dirty water, we are bringing this emotion with something bad. So the hate coming, and we start the movie with a clean lake, like a paradise, a nice place,
Hmm.
and then we introduce this dark water coming into the story, and the rain and everything coming like you said, like blood.
Exactly, and
Taking
it's
the nice emotion of the four guys.
and it was
And
sort of like this big foreshadowing of what was about to happen throughout the film. Now, Sarah, you play the character of Cindy. We see pretty early on in the film that your character suffers from epilepsy. Okay? Now, when it came to portraying somebody with epilepsy and actually having a seizure on screen, uh, what kind of mindset did you get into to portray that? And in your opinion, how critical was that to the development of Cindy's character?
Yeah, well, it's so ironic that my boyfriend has epilepsy. So I've actually witnessed his seizures in person. So it kind of was uh, easy to tap into witnessing something like that and being exposed to it. But it is difficult to kind of put yourself in that place. And it is such a emotional place because when you do have a seizure, you're you're not in control of your body anymore.
Yeah.
You've been totally taken over, and that's the yeah. So So yeah, and then having to like, have stuff in your mouth and
Foaming
yeah.
at the mouth and all
Yeah.
that. Yeah.
Yeah. And like one take we didn't get the camera set once and the foam just started like growing in my mouth and then it just burst and exploded. So it was like it was quite a blooper moment. It was pretty awesome. But yeah.
That's
So
awesome. Now,
it
Jeremy, your character, Mark, we find out is just a huge character as the movie goes on. We'll leave that at that. Now, as the film progresses, Mark is questioning himself what is real, what is not real. He's obviously witnessing, experiencing all these things that are going on around him in this farmhouse. Um, is that how you saw it as well? Did you get into the mindset of Mark at this point does not know what is real and what is not real?
Well, I think there was something very interesting with all of that in terms of playing Mark, and the great thing that I loved about him was he was just so grounded and real and compassionate towards Sarah's character, Cindy. He really just only is there to support, and he's only there to just be her rock and her roots, which I think it's almost ironic that he's the one that almost sort of kind of starts seeing these weird things happen and gets convinced that maybe there's something else going on, because it's the complete opposite of what his initial expectations of this trip were going to be.
Mm-hmm.
It's not like the other characters that were kind of seeing things a little bit more light and not as serious in terms of everything that's going on. He was the one that really had a specific job to do to support his girlfriend, and next thing you know, he's taken into this weird mystery type world that just kind of throws everything that he was trying to do out the window and forces him to almost, be responsible for how everything goes down. I mean, if they do this one thing or if they do that thing, I mean, it almost becomes his decisions in order to protect Cindy.
Exactly.
And I think, I just loved being able to kind of grapple with that struggle, because it just, there were so many elements and so many levels that Ale and Danny and myself played with along with Sara. And I think, I think we found some really good moments, but it was definitely a challenge. And I think there were certain moments where I had to choose the amount of, I don't want to say hysteria, but the amount of how much I kind of let these things take me over. Exactly. Because I always have to remember that I'm there to support and, but also to deal with these things at the same time.
Out of the four of you, the four main characters, in your mind, why do you think it's Mark that starts seeing this? I don't want to give anything away. Starts seeing these things first, starts experiencing this phenomena first. He's sort of chosen in a way. Why do you think it was Mark out of all four of you that was chosen?
Well, without really delving into what which might be considered a spoiler, and let's see. I think it has something to do, at least what I had perceived was I think it had something to do with the emotional and deep connection to Cindy. I feel like he almost absorbed what could have initially happened to her if he wasn't there.
Yeah.
I always kind of see it as he kind of just was the shield to everything that was coming at Cindy, and in a way, again, assumed the responsibility of the role that his character takes in the film. And there's specific instances that would probably be the center points of exactly how he begins to go down this path. But I wouldn't want to, I'll wait for people to watch the film on that. But
now, in direct question with that, Sara, do you think Cindy shares the same feelings for Mark that Mark shares for Cindy?
Yeah, I think she also really relies on him now. She had such a sheltered life and not really exposed to the real world. So I think it's like he's her main source, and it's kind of all she has. So she really depends on him and craves his love and also wants to give love. So, yeah.
Now, Cindy has a very interesting relationship with the character of Nathan. Okay? Very interesting. Do you think Cindy is oblivious to his feelings towards her? Or in one way or another, she maybe feels the same way, but is not willing to admit it to herself. And that
Yeah.
causes conflict, of course, with Mark.
Yeah. I think her and him growing up together, sort of in each other's lives, there is part of her that sees him as a brother type instead of this, love. But there is moments of her just knowing him for so long and feeling so comfortable with him, and they have history.
Yeah.
So it's that kind of, I guess, could lead you to thinking she could feel something for him, but it also may have never been able to happen because of their past and their history together.
Gotcha.
So,
Gotcha.
yeah.
Now, Ale, let's talk about let's call him the antagonist, the bad guy in the film. Was there a discussion on how you guys were going to portray it? Obviously, when you were writing the script, you wrote the bad person in a particular way and how they moved, their characteristics. When it came time to filming, and now you have to show us this bad person, was there a lot of discussion before you guys settled on a look that everybody liked?
Yeah, we made, at first we wanted to create somebody who was not bad from the beginning. So we picked the idealistic guy who was leading that community, and then he was betrayed, and because some interest in money and etc. And then he starts to, after they killed them. This is not a spoiler because it's the beginning of the movie.
Yeah.
But they killed them, and after that, he's completely made of hate. So our character, our monster, it's the hate itself. So we start to draw many concept arts, trying to figure out how we can represent visually this monster. Because I truly believe that this kind of movie needs a very unique monster to be successful.
It was scary looking.
Yeah, exactly. I don't think we have it's not a horror movie with some ghosts and some moods. So we do need a Freddy Krueger or a Jason, so Mike Myers. So we start to draw and thinking, well, he was drawn it in the beginning of the movie. How we can put this? So we created a chain around the neck, and then we end up with that visually that I think is very nice.
Very nice. Yeah.
Very visually explainable.
Very scary. Now, Daniela, I've spoken to a lot of co-directors in a film, and usually when it comes to the division of duties, everybody knows when it comes time to directing what each director's duties are. Did you and Ali have talks when it came to the directing of the film on who's going to do what and how you guys were going to split the work up?
Yes, we actually had worked together before. So when she decided to make this movie, she called me up and she said, "Do you want to co-direct? I need some help. It's going to be really tough. I'm doing other things, so we can work together." I said yes. I was actually an AD for a long time. I did her first feature film as her AD. That's how we met.
Nice.
And so I went on board, and we talked a lot about the process. She had very clearly on her mind the movie because she wrote it, so it was much more clear for her than it was for me. And we had long conversations about the process. And she's an avid horror film watcher, and she loves that. So she's more into that than I was before going into the movie. And after that, I watched everything that I could. So it was great. Before going to make the movie, I watched a bunch of horror movies and a bunch of thrillers and things like that. And we end up sharing the director's chair. Very. I think we didn't have a specific thing that I did and a specific thing that she did. We did everything together. So sometimes I was the one talking to the actors, sometimes she was, and we talked about the shots and how we were gonna do the scene, and we actually just talked about everything and did everything together. I don't think there was one scene that we said, "Oh, I think we should do it this way," and she said, "I think we should do it this way." I think we end up.
It was a collaborative effort.
It was a collaborative effort from the beginning to the end.
Nice.
After I read the script, we talked about it, and it was from day one.
Now,
so,
Jeremy, as you were reading your character's arc in the film, Mark, and seeing how complex your character is from the beginning to the end, did you and Ali have a lot of talk, since Ali was the writer, co-writer who sort of came up with how Mark's arc was going to go? Did you have a lot of questions in regards to his arc and so on?
Oh, I had a lot of questions. I definitely came in with a lot of questions, just right off the plane, right to the chair. Let's sit down, and it was great because Ali was great. She sat down with me and made sure that I was fully confident in everything that I was going for. There was never a wrong time for me to ask her a question, no matter what we were doing on set or anything like that, because there was so much that I was grappling with Mark. And I always would say when we were filming, I would say that Mark he's kind of in his own movie. Like, he's got like his own thing going on in his mind. He's going this way. Everyone else is kind of over here. And there's this like push and pull. And Ali was just so great to talk about that. And yeah, we did have a lot of talks about it. And then when Danny, of course, came on board, we talked about certain things of other aspects. And sometimes, we were all working together to develop certain scenes and kind of figure out together just where the emotion was going, where Mark's arc was going. But yeah, it was really nice because there was sometimes when Ali and Danny would be going, there was sometimes, like me, I feel like my questions were very much specific and sometimes, just a million little tiny ones. And one of them would take over my issues, and then there would be more of a bigger picture kind of thing going on. And they had no problem just swapping, and one took over what the other was doing and vice versa. And I think that really showed a real collaborative aspect of that, because I think it could have easily been difficult. It could have easily not worked well, depending on who was kind of leading the show. But like Danny said, they both worked together before. And once I had my hesitations going in, because I was like, oh my God, I got 8 pages of questions here, and I'm about to blindside them with all this stuff I got going here. But right when we started talking, I mean, just right off the bat, I felt really comfortable and solidified in what I was doing. And I also felt free to take risks in certain takes, and allowed me to relax and kind of make sure that I was comfortable focusing on Mark's own storyline, even if it felt like I was detracting from the others, which essentially the thing I was worried about was the thing that I ended up finding out from both Ali and Danny, which they ended up finding out that I was on the right path after all.
Yeah. I don't think.
But it was wonderful.
I don't think you did. I think everybody, all 4 of you, had their own story, and everybody had awesome screen time to tell it. Now, Mark's story is told beyond just the dialogue that you have. It's told in your movements, your facial expressions, anger, pure terror when you're afraid. You worked that very well, and it came through very well, because it gave us a glimpse into your character's mindset. Was that something that you purposely did and worked on?
Yes, actually, it's specifically enough. It is something I played with a lot. Ali and I, we really worked with my famous level system of percentages. We would always figure out what the emotion was in the scene, or at least the driving emotion, and then figure out what percentage it was to be revealed at this time. I mean, sometimes it would be at 37%, or we would dial it down to to a 21, or we would up it to a 54, depending on that emotion, because Mark had to restrain himself a lot for Cindy's sake.
Yeah.
He had to keep himself together for a majority of what could be a very stressful moment if he kind of just let it all out. But in terms of, keeping things together, yeah, there's a lot hidden there. And I think that as things slowly start to unravel, we kind of see that spiral take place. So
Yeah.
it's very withheld, and it fluctuates between withheld and kind of letting loose. And in the end, it's kind of just this nice little bubble of energy that he kind of experiences, rather than something that was a little bit more clear cut, solidified. There wasn't exactly one way to play it. It was a very interpretive kind of character.
Absolutely. Now, Sara, Cindy, if I was to describe the character of Cindy, a nice, easygoing person, does not like to cause conflict, rock the boat, very easy to get along with, very pleasant. That's how we see you when you're introduced to the film and as the film progresses. Was that something that you really had to tap into, or is that who Sara Drust is in real life?
Yeah, I think it was pretty easy. I can be generally shy, and in my own personal life, and a bit of but I could relate to Cindy a lot, just being not like a loner, but just being okay being alone and being by herself a lot and entertaining herself, kind of, because she did have to do that the majority of her childhood, and she was always around adults, and that is kind of how my life was growing up. So and just, her overall essence is to be almost a people pleaser and kind of just go with the flow and be there for anyone and put herself
above anybody else.
Yeah.
Now, Ali, Evan, Judson, and Marcella, who are not here with us, they play Nathan and Jennifer. Jennifer is a very powerful presence on the screen. You could say she's the mirror opposite of Cindy. She doesn't care what she says if it's going to upset someone. When she wants to leave, she makes it very vocal. So when you were writing the character of Jennifer, was it your intention to make her a mirror opposite of what Cindy's character was?
Yes, actually, she is the opposite of Cindy. It's like even make the Mark opposite as well. So the idea is to bring two couple very different. So one couple of the good guys, shy, and the other one being the free and the funny ones, and this conflict will build everything that's going to happen in that weekend.
Yes. Daniela, working with Sara, Jeremy, and the others as a director, did you find it very easy? Because it's like, directing, depending on which director you talk to, it's like 70 to 80% of directing is casting, okay? And you just sort of get out of the actor's way and let them do their thing. And if they have questions, you're there to help them through it. Working with Jeremy and Sara and Marcella, did you find that they were great in getting what you guys wanted to put on the screen and required very little direction?
I think they're great. Not because they're here, I'm saying this. it's the honest truth. No, when I went on board, the cast was already done. The casting process was already done, and I watched the tapes. I don't remember now if it was tapes or what was it, but I watched everything, and I really felt that they were great for the part they were cast. I could look that they are right for the part, and when they arrive and we got together, I think it really flowed really well, everything, and the entire process was really nice, and we're all in the same place. We're all staying in the same place, so that helped a lot because we are together 24 hours a day for the period of the shoot. So we were always talking about the movie and the parts and the scenes and everything, and everything was smooth. I've been doing this for 22 years, so this was a smooth process compared to a lot of projects I worked at. So
That's awesome.
it was very pleasant, everything. We had fun doing it.
It sounds like you did.
Yeah, we had fun. It was 3 weeks of fun. We really enjoyed it, I guess.
Jeremy, your Mark's character has a very interesting moment with Nathan when you sort of share with Nathan your plans to propose to Cindy. And do you think at that moment, Nate's reaction is Mark oblivious to Nate's feelings towards Cindy, or does he take what Nate says at face value?
I think Mark has the intellectual capability to detect some type of feeling from Nate to Cindy, but based on that current situation that he's in, both being out of his element at Cindy's deceased father's estate, as well as the idea to propose, as well as a few other things that have already happened since he's gotten there, I feel like that specific moment, no, it's not on his radar. At least that's how I approached it.
Yeah.
But again, that's another one of those things where Mark is kind of, has blinders on sometimes, and then they come off for certain times. And, there's certain other moments in the film where I feel things kick in.
My interpretation of that scene when Nate was unloading on you and your reaction towards him was that you're oblivious to the fact that Nate is in love with Cindy and he's telling you that it's a bad idea to propose, and you're taking it at face value, and you could tell just by the expressions on your face that his words are deeply wounding you.
Right.
They really hurt you, and you're like, you sort of start questioning yourself, am I good enough for Cindy? What do you think about that?
Well, I think another element of that scene was that Mark thinks so highly of Cindy and values their deep, deep bond that they have together. And Nathan kind of reduces that to something cheap and shallow, almost that's almost, it's almost his way of, looking from a third eye perspective. It's his way of kind of taking away the importance of it all. So maybe to try to convince Mark to not go through with it. But, it's just, there was heartbreak, there was a realization, there was him questioning everything he had already thought he was so sure of, which in a way is a representation of his character's progression in the film. And Evan specifically, Evan and I, we work really well together, and we talked a lot about that scene and how we wanted it to go, because me and him, both in life and characters on screen, we are quite different, but yet somehow we get along and find each other in each other's presence. We talked a lot about how we wanted that to go, and eventually we landed on this whole kind of power dynamic of him almost being in a trickster position and Mark almost being in this kind of weaker, vulnerable position. He's confiding in what he believes to be one of his closest friends, or at least his closest friend at the time, and just gets, cracked in the head with, metaphorically cracked in the head with truth that isn't exactly the truth, but he takes it that way because... And
you could also see it as Nate taking advantage of the situation to try to break Mark and Cindy up.
100%.
Yeah.
And I think it's a common, I think it's very common for people to try and take advantage of people during moments of grief and hurt and turmoil. And Evan's character is the classic, bro coming at it that angle. I mean, here's a hurt, pained woman. Let me swoop in and try and get out of the friend zone here. This is my opportunity. I can be there for her. I just gotta get her very loving, caring, wonderful boyfriend out of the way first. The monster's inside the house.
Now, Ali, when you guys were trying to come up in the writing process, the backstory to the commune, the farm, before you settled on the story that we see on the screen, did you play with a lot of different stories on what that farm/commune was in the past? It could have been a cult, it could have been this, it could have been that, before you landed on what we see in the film?
Yes, me and Fernando starts to write straight to this story. And very soon we realized that we need to write a backstory telling everything what happened in that farm. Because we need to create an universe, a whole universe with rules and characters that we're gonna use in the whole story. So it's like a detective movie
Yeah,
because we start to review many things that happen not on screen but before the story.
yeah.
So we start to write the story of who was the priest who led that community, who was the Cindy's father, and why he was killed, and who was the grandfather of Nathan. So I think we spent many days writing this story about the farm, and maybe we do a movie about that. If this movie works, we can do a prequel.
The backstory to that commune slash farm is very critical to the story, and you guys could have gone a lot of ways with it. There is no right or wrong way. I like the way you guys did go with it. More realistic, true to life. We're not going to say any more about it. Sarah, before we go, this movie was shot in Brazil. Beautiful, beautiful location. Was this your first time in Brazil, and what were your thoughts on the location of the shoot?
Yeah, it was my first time. And I mean, we drove 2 hours in the middle of nowhere and we're like, are we ever gonna get there? It was kind of like a little like almost like a little horror movie. Like I'm like, I don't know about this, but it was wild. And then once we got there, it was like paradise. I mean, it was acres and acres of land and little waterfalls you could hike to, and cows everywhere and dogs, and just like everyone was so welcoming. And it was just so cool because even though like half of the crew spoke only Portuguese, we all just meshed. I mean, we
Yeah.
just seamlessly worked so well together and had such beautiful moments with everyone. So it was, and the house was truly magical. I mean, the whole place was. It did get a little spooky sometimes, but I will say
I can
that.
imagine that night.
uh,
Jeremy, having that environment where you, cast, crew are all living in the same place throughout the whole shoot, like Daniela described, did that help you as an actor get into the character that you were playing?
Absolutely, 100%. I mean, my initial training comes from a theater background, and as much as I love theater, I mean, the glory and just the feeling I get from being on set on a location of a film is unmatched for me. I mean, I've been on my share of sets, but getting to go to Brazil and being on that farm with everyone there, who many of which, right, like Sarah said, didn't speak English, and just getting to make some form of art was, yeah, it of course helped, because a lot of similarities to what Jeremy was actually going through was the same thing that Mark was going through. I mean, he had never been there. Mark had never been there. I had never been there. I mean, there were so many things, like we would film in a location and I could have sworn I had seen this whole farm, but yet we would go to this house or this room or this area and I'd be like, where was this other building here the whole time? And it just really helped me get into it, and just the mood and just the culture of another country. I mean, I could talk for another 2.5 hours about my overjoyed experience there in Brazil and the amount of times I almost got attacked by wild dogs and cats, but that's not here nor there. But yeah, I think something like that is not only life-changing,
It's magical.
wondrous, but yeah, I think a lot of what you see on screen is a direct reflection of me being put in that environment, and it couldn't have been replicated anywhere else.
Oh man, that's awesome. Now, Daniela, before we go, the movie is out today. I'm assuming it's out on the major platforms: Amazon, Vudu for purchase or rent, Apple TV, and on and on. Am I correct?
Yes, I think it's on Amazon Prime, Apple TV. Where else?
Vudu, Vudu,
Voodoo, yes. Yes.
All the major, basically, guys, all the
Yes.
major platforms where you could rent.
It's out there. Go
Yeah.
and watch.
Yeah, you can rent it, you can buy it, you won't be disappointed. The movie is called Deep Hatred. Hope you enjoyed the interview. The movie is great. There's a lot of stuff that we could not talk about due to spoilers. The movie does take a lot of twists and turns. Uh, a lot of people that I've spoken to who have seen the movie already loved the ending that we can't get into right now, but it shocked me as well, being a lifelong horror fan. So it takes a lot to shock me, and you guys did shock me with that ending.
Good to hear that.
You guys did a fabulous job. Thank you so much for coming on here. Let's just turn it to Ali. Any final thoughts you want to share before we go?
The only thing I think it's very important to tell, we lived together to make this movie for 3 weeks in the same place, in that farm. And I think this is on the screen in a way.
It does. It comes through. It really comes through. What happens behind the camera definitely affects what we see in front of the camera. And the cohesiveness that you guys showed was amazing, and you guys did great. Sara, Jeremy, Danielle, Ali, thank you so much. Again, guys, the movie's called Deep Hatred. Rent or buy it on your favorite video on demand platform of choice. Thank you to our guests. Thank you to our viewers who are watching this live and those who will watch this later on. Until next time, on behalf of my guests and myself, stay safe, stay walking. Bye, everybody.
Bye bye.
Bye bye.